Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From the Helm with MarineMax. And today is a special day because today is the Father's Day special. And today I am sitting with the McGill family for the Father's Day special. So how are y'all doing today?
Doing great. Yeah.
And we are sitting here aboard a Nautique, and I thought what better way, because I think we're going to be discussing Nautique a little bit. And why don't we just start off by everybody kind of going around and introducing everyone.
Great. Hey, I'm Brett McGill, CEO of MarineMax, here with my family today. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Vicky McGill.
My name's Evan McGill.
Nathan McGill. I'm Jack McGill.
And I'm William McGill.
All right, and I'm Kelly, of course. And today we kind of want to review not so much about the product, but more about the history of the McGill family, because as anybody all knows, that the McGills are really into boating, obviously. And so let's kind of talk about the history. Where did it all start? How did you all get the water gene? I think we could start with Brett here. How did you get the water gene?
Yeah, well, I think everybody knows, my life, I grew up on the water. My dad's an avid skier and boater, and I think he got started at a pretty young age, but not too young, got out on the water and started water skiing at a pretty, about in his teens, and had an uncle who was actually a professional water skier, Joe Cash, one of the best, and just got the water gene. Then he got in the boat business, and from there, when I was born, I think pretty much right after I was born, I was on the water skiing with him
sure.
in his arms, in his lap, on the trick skis and everything. So I grew up boating with my sisters. We did competitive water skiing quite a bit. So, the old school skiing with slalom, trick, and jump. So that was pretty intense, but it was fun growing up. So I learned to barefoot, all the different things that relate to that.
Yeah, and so how did that get transitioned? I mean, there's a few generations of McGills that are skiers and water sportsmen, I should say. How did you transition that to your family that's sitting behind us today?
Well, it was so natural. It was force-fed on everybody.
Yep.
Growing up, there was those times where there was the great days on the water with the family, but then there was competition and preparing and getting ready, and that was a lot of work. But, it's just one of those things, boating, and we didn't just water ski. We did some pleasure boating and spent the night, went to South Seas Plantation back in the day.
Sure.
So kind of once that's in your blood, we call it the boating gene.
Yep.
But once it's in your blood, you kind of just, those that have grown up boating, they know what I mean. And so once that happened, then when I got a little bit older, one of our first houses was on a little lake.
Okay.
And I said, we have to be on a lake. And Vicky said, well, a lake? She was kind of from the city. So, but she grew up, fishing with her dad. And you had a lot of experience on the water fishing. So. Yeah,
tell us, Vicky, a little bit about how, your early days of fishing with your dad kind of transitioned to having 4 boys and being out on the water almost on a daily basis.
Well, it's very relaxing, fishing and the memories, but I think that, and those were, calmer times. And then, when our first house, we had a ski Nautique, which that's when I actually got to learn how to drive a boat, pulling Brett slaloming, which was, an experience.
There was some fun there growing up. Or when we first started boating, I was very particular about what speed we needed to go and how to handle the boat. And there was some tense moments there when I wanted it perfect and she was just learning, and I couldn't understand why she didn't drive the boat perfectly for me. But over the years, it's been great.
It's perfect now.
I'm a pro now.
And I would say her number one feature in a boat now, to keep the speed, is the speed control.
Yep.
Where you can take off, get the speed set, hold the speed, she can just drive the boat, adjust the stereo.
Because you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
The speed, it takes itself, and you kind of just watch him ski.
Yeah, and I'm sure in a lot of ways, being at the helm is part of the fun, especially even with somebody behind skiing or wakeboarding, wake surfing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so you guys, you're sitting here on a Nautique. I'm sure you have a little bit of experience. Why don't we go around? What are some of your memories when you were little or up until today of just being out on the water? What are some of your best memories?
I think my favorite memory was my dad. We were always sitting on the back of the boat.
Yep.
And we always wanted him to do a flip.
Okay.
But he's just too old and he can't do a flip anymore.
So you're yelling out, do a flip!
On
Yeah.
the wakeboard. So there was many attempts of doing a flip on the wakeboard, and for the record, I did land a few of them.
Really?
Not recently. And
In your
but
prime.
yeah, I would go out and wakeboard really hard to the best of my ability, and all
Yep.
they're going is, "Dad, can't you do a flip? What's wrong with you? Why can't you do it?"
Well, if we find photographic evidence of this flip, we'll definitely post it on social media for sure.
Yeah, that might be hard to come by. So, so
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. What about you?
I remember the first time I ever went wakeboarding behind a nautique.
Sure.
I was crying like my head off. Like I was sitting at the back of the boat while my dad was tying my boots on.
Yep.
And I was just crying. And then I got out there and then I got up and I was like, man, this is a lot more fun. So now I just do it more often and it's awesome.
Yeah, he brings back some good memories of. Sometimes I had to do a little prodding to get them out on the water and get them out there. But once they learned it, they enjoyed it. And I'll go back to when I was a kid. But all the boys here, with Vicky pulling us when they were 18 months old, maybe even younger than 18 months, would get on my wakeboard with me, and I'd pull them and we'd ski together. I would just be holding them between my arms.
Yeah.
And the neighbors thought we were crazy, but we enjoyed it. And it didn't matter if it was December in the water, we went. So they really enjoyed it.
Well, and that makes me think, when it comes to boating, there's a lot of things you're doing for your first time, right? Being at the helm or getting behind the boat and on a wakeboard, that's kind of part of the experience, is being a little nervous at first, but once you kind of conquer it, it's a part of you, and it helps you grow, right?
Yeah, I'll let them say, but a couple that started them on the knee board and skiing with me, and then they learned to water ski, and all of them have learned to slalom, and now they wakeboard and surf. So
Any barefooters?
There's been some attempts and a few successes, but yeah,
More falls than
More falls?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? What's your best experience that you can think of?
My favorite, like when we were a lot younger, part of the prodding of getting us to go out and wakeboard and
Sure.
ski was after everyone went skiing and everyone went wakeboarding, then we can go tubing. And so that got everyone out to try something and
that was my trick, was if I wanted them to go skiing, I said, everybody's got to ski or wakeboard first,
Yep.
then I'll pull you tubing.
Yeah, and I saw some cheers from behind the camera too. So apparently there's some tubers behind the camera.
Oh, yes. So we do have some people tuning in. Shout out to
Sure.
Gail, Jennifer, Sarah, Abby, and Keith. Thanks
Hello.
for tuning in. And special shout out to Scott Holmes, who is admiring the nautique you're sitting on and
Excellent.
suggested that you try Mastercraft next.
Oh, geez.
We try them all. So if it gets us out on the water as a family, we're happy. In fact, we've done boating on just about every type of boat that MarineMax carries, and taken different trips around the country.
Oh, yeah.
And so.
Well, and you were telling me about a trip that you guys took from Florida up to Maryland. So tell us, how does that come about, and how did it go down?
Yeah, we there was we took the opportunity, pretty lucky to have the opportunity, but a boat at the Sea Ray factory needed to be delivered from the Sea Ray factory up to the Baltimore location at the time. So we grabbed the boat as a family with me as a captain and a bunch of co-captains and took off and headed from the factory on up to Baltimore. So we did it in about 10 days. You
10
can do it
days.
in less, and it was intense. And my oldest was my main mate, and so I tortured him with sitting at the helm with me a lot and helping me out. But we had a good trip. I think you
So
remember
Willie,
well.
why don't you tell a little bit about that?
It was a good time, good family fun time. Awesome experience, really, just because every location that we stopped at was just different. It was just the scenery was amazing. It was just really cool. Like overall, I also learned a bunch, like how to like driving the boat more, like just like
The navigation.
navigations, the real specifics to like driving
Yeah.
down below, like engine work. So it it was a fun time.
Well, I mean, that amount of time on a boat, I mean, on the open water, I mean, there's a lot of things that people need to be doing to continue your course, right?
Yeah, we spent some time in the intercoastal and out offshore, and really get a flavor of everything. Some challenging times going through different locks as you get up close to Virginia, and had a good time with that. Stopped in Charleston, enjoyed some time in Charleston. So,
and another good thing you made me think of is, I mean, there's MarineMaxes all along the way as you cruise up the eastern seaboard, and you know, how does that assist a boater when it comes to that?
No, it was great. You know, being able to just, you know, really the comfort of taking my family, you know, up the coast, and knowing that we had stores nearby along the way. You know, so, you know, in Charleston, we were able to stop and get some assistance there on a couple of things we needed help with, and just, you know, and of course ending in Baltimore. But really, anywhere along the way, we had support or help if we needed it, and so do all of our customers out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And considering this is the Father's Day special, I mean, when it comes to being a father out on the open water with his family, you know, what are some of the things that you can kind of maybe give some recommendations or suggest to other boaters out there when it comes to being on a boat with your family?
Well, you know, for me, just being with them, if we're anchored out, hanging out, or we're going to a specific place, it's a lot of fun, and that's just what it's all about for me. But, you know, they'll tell you just everything from, you know, maybe learning to drive the boat, learning to dock the boat. I mean, they can probably tell you a little bit more. What are some of your best times out there? But we've done a lot, you know. So,
like a good time with like my dad, it's like just kind of spending alone time up on like the bridge or at the helm with him, like him kind of teaching me like just like the basics of driving. It's a lot of fun. It's good quality time with him alone. So.
Sure. And it's not something you can just learn right away. I mean, it takes practice, right?
Yeah, a little too much practice with him. But.
and I really know that they love that we put our phones down when we're on the boat and just enjoy time together, right? That's your favorite part, is no phones, just communication with the family.
Sure.
That's the best part.
Yes, see?
And that's coming from, you know, teenagers. Yeah, a teenager. I mean, when it comes to getting their phone put down, I mean, what that's probably got to be the most difficult thing in this day and age.
Funny part is when we're out on the boat, it's not hard.
Yeah.
They tend to do it and just enjoy the time. But, you know, they've learned to scuba dive and do a lot of snorkeling and all those different things. And last year, everybody got certified in like a record time. In about 1 week, everybody got certified in our pool. Like within 3 days, so that we could go down to the British Virgin Islands and do scuba diving as a family. In fact, we put a picture down at 60 feet of us under the water for our Christmas cards.
Oh, wow.
So,
could you elaborate a little bit? I know you've been down to the British Virgin Islands a few times. Tell me, what are some of your favorite things about the BVIs, Vicki?
You know, we've been there a handful of times, and every single time it's like so fresh.
Yeah.
Because everything's new. I mean, you never get tired looking at a sea turtle. You know, it's just very calm and relaxing, and you know, to go just, you know, 20 feet away and go snorkeling with your family, it's pretty awesome.
And Vicky's always up for the challenge. I said, hey, we're getting everybody certified for scuba diving down there, and she was like, how are we going to do that this quick? And we pulled it off, and they did their open water dive down there with a great instructor, and you guys
amazing.
I mean, just what a great time that was.
What are some of the things that, you know, you can see or that you guys saw, you know, from your experience down in the BVIs underwater? Anything that really stands out?
Probably whenever like we get to an area, like some location, and then we always get our snorkel gear on and dive under the boat, and we'd see huge tarpon, and so we'd get close to them and touch them and stuff.
Any barracuda?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. The scary part were on our last dive, we had some big sharks right next to us, and
really,
my mom was freaking out about that. Like, she kept grabbing us and pulling us away, like trying to get us away from them.
Well, and that's part of the mystique, right? Is you never know what you're going to see under the water and in the open water. So having that opportunity to just be up close and personal with the wildlife is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it is. It's great. And it's, you know, it's so relaxing. And again, there's so much to see, as Vicki said, whether you're just pulling up on a beach somewhere and hanging out, or you're snorkeling, or you're really getting into it and doing the scuba diving. As a family, we just love it down there. We'll be going back down in about a month and a half or 2 months, and enjoy that time before William heads off to college. Our first, we'll have 3 in high school, and then 1 heading off to college next year. So it's
Ohio, huh?
Yep.
Dayton?
Yep.
Very cool. Well, so you said you've done a little bit of, well, obviously a lot of both types of boating in terms of ocean/lake boating. I mean, what are some of the differences and what are some of the benefits that you guys feel are, I mean, you do a lot of both. What do you see are some of the pros and cons, or not pros and cons, but just benefits?
You know, like I said, we've enjoyed all different types of boats. We've been scalloping together and diving, fishing. But you know, we live on a little lake in Odessa and Tampa, Florida, so it's just a better environment for us to have a water sports related boat where we can surf and ski.
Sure.
But of course, if we lived on the intercoastal, we'd probably have a fishing boat maybe. So we're just pretty blessed and lucky to be able to have experienced all the different kinds of boating, from yachting to cruising and fishing and skiing.
Well, and I think, in a lot of markets, a lot of areas of the country, I mean, people don't have that option. You look at Minnesota or the places up in Ohio or other places, I mean, you're in a lake, so you have to make the most. I mean, there's just so many things you can do.
So many things, and it's actually, bring it up, but this is why we give our customers an opportunity in Minnesota to come enjoy the time down in the British Virgin Islands. So
that's very true.
Right now summer's kicking in and they're ready to go boating in their environment, but when the winter time comes, we want to provide an opportunity for them to come down to the British Virgin Islands and experience that type of boating.
Yep.
And so people really seem to be taking advantage of that quite a bit.
For sure. And so lake boating for you guys, I mean, lake versus open water, do you have a preference, and if so, why?
I mean, it's kind of hard to like really have a favorite because they're each like very different. Like on a nautique, it's fun because you're having a good time. You're wakeboarding, you're tubing, and just enjoying like the lake with like family. But when you're on like a yacht, you're enjoying like just like looking at the view of like the ocean, and when you're in the BVI, looking at all the islands and everything. It's 2 different experiences, but they're both still super fun. I prefer both. I mean, who wouldn't? It's awesome, good time.
Boating is boating.
Couple good fishermen here.
Yeah. Tell me about, what are some of your favorite experiences fishing?
Some of my favorite experiences was when we had a Boston whaler, like a Montauk at our dock on the lake. And I'd take it out like every afternoon or something and go out and just go fishing by myself. And yeah, that was pretty fun.
What were you catching?
Bass. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Jack's favorite boat, I think you mentioned before we started the program, your favorite boat. What was that?
The 1984-82 Squall.
The 1984, I think it was 1984 Boston Whaler Squall.
Wow.
It was a little dinghy, had a sail, original, so bought it from one of the managers. Yeah, pretty neat. So they would go out and use that boat alone in the lake. It was kind of unique.
Well, has anybody out there heard of the Boston Whaler Squall? And if so, let us know about your experiences with this boat, maybe seeing one or experiencing being on one. We'd love to hear about that.
So we do have a lot more people that have tuned in. Shout out to Chris. And we actually had Michael suggest that you have enough people to do your own ski pyramid, if you have not already thought of that.
Yeah.
I will comment on that. I just showed the boys. What did I show you the other night?
Oh, your
Christmas card.
Oh, that's a goal.
The Christmas card from when I was a kid with my 2 sisters, my mom, my dad, and me. And then my 2 sisters up on top, and we had a family pyramid, and all they could ask was, "How did you do it?" And I said, "Oh, you'll see. We'll do it."
Yes.
We'll look for that Christmas card coming December 2019.
Yeah, that would be great.
And then we had a couple questions.
Sure.
Who does the best trick on the tube? Anybody have any barrel? Oh, we got competitors over here.
Okay, let's tell. What are these tricks?
My dad was pulling me once on just a standard flat tube, and he does this thing where he goes just fast enough where it comes up and comes back down. One time it came up and I kind of hit a bump at the same time, and it did a little barrel roll and landed, and I was perfectly fine.
What a big round tube, big barrel roll up in the air, came down.
We're able to turn a tube that's supposed to be on water into a aerial device.
Yeah, get some lifts. Get the lift going.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Incredible.
Yeah,
I have actually done that myself. It's
one day back in the day, I was pulling him on a tube, and he when he was little, he went way up in the air and flew off. I actually was worried. I thought he was going to be hurt. And I went back to get the boat, and he was crying, and he looked at me and said, Dad, I didn't think we had a kite tube. Because back in the day, those kite tubes, they're now illegal, and it wasn't a kite tube.
That's awesome. Are there any other questions out there?
All right, who's gotten the biggest air? Tube, skiing? Oh,
Wow.
Tell us about that.
Like whenever, like on the weekend or anything, when I'm out wakeboarding and my dad would pull me, I would just work at it and try to get higher and higher and higher every single time. And then like sometimes I'd get really high where I'd clear the wake, but then land out in the flats and kind of like have a hard landing. So yeah,
he's been working hard, practicing hard, and getting his air on the wakeboard.
Well, it's all about that sweet spot, right? I mean, you got to get up on the lip and then come back down on the opposite
hitting the
side.
wake right, getting his angle right, and there's a lot of instruction behind that. But we enjoy just going out together and working on it.
That's awesome. And then obviously Father's Day is coming. Do we have big boating plans for Father's Day? What do you guys got going on?
We usually clear the agenda where I'll make it clear, like we're going to wake up, we're going to go to church, and we're going to come home. We're all going to go out on the boat together. So there might be a little bit of this, but we're going to spend the day on the boat, swimming pool, hanging out. So
I mean, what better way to experience it than just hanging out on the boat in the open air and just having fun. And Lisa, of course, behind, she's the second half of From the Helm, is behind the camera. We had a whole crew here, so we're like, well, we're gonna have to remove one just for that in case she wanted to be at the helm, but unfortunately we're not out on the water today. It's a little rainy here in Florida, but so are there any other questions out there?
We have Abby and Travis that have just tuned in.
Sure.
And just more curious about when Brett started boating. What draw his eye first? Was it a nautique? Was it a ski boat? What caught your eye at the very beginning?
The first boat we actually owned was back in the day. It was like a early 1990s Ski Ray. It was when Sea Ray had a ski boat, inboard ski boat out. So we had that behind the house, and in fact, that's where a bunch of them learned to ski on that. So they don't make it anymore, but it's fun.
I got a good question here. So, what is something in boating that you haven't tried but you've always wanted to do? I mean, I'm sure, being in the McGill family, you've experienced pretty much every kind of boating, but what have you not done yet that you want to still do?
Anybody?
Get a wakeboarder out at the same time the tube is out.
Well, we'll speak in safety terms here today. So,
don't try at home. What about you guys? Is there anything you've seen a video on YouTube or something like that, and you're like, I got to try that someday?
I really just want to go scuba diving again. That was pretty fun. Well, scuba.
I can kind of answer it for them. They always, every time they come home and say, Dad, we need to be on one of those big azimuths or the big Ocean Alexanders. And I said, no, that's no, we don't do that. So, but that's definitely something they want to get on one day.
And I have seen videos of people behind large azimuths and yachts doing some wake types.
Again,
wake
we
surf.
won't be doing that.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you all on today. I have to say, and Father's Day is right around the corner, so we'd love to hear from you all. What are you guys doing this Father's Day? Hopefully you're with your parents. Hopefully you're with your dad and getting out on a boat. And is there any last words? No,
I would say for all the boaters out there and fans that get out on the water as best you can. Let us know if you need help. All of our stores are standing by, and unfortunately, there's a lot of dads in our stores that are working really hard this upcoming weekend to make it a great experience for you. But please call on us if you need us, and get out there and enjoy time with your family.
All right, one more question from the field.
Sure.
Yes.
And I think it wraps it up quite nicely. Someone asked, can anyone barefoot better than Bill?
Whoa.
No.
The answer is no. Can anybody barefoot better than my dad? No, I can't either. I can barefoot, but not better than him. And
Did
even
he ask that?
And just at 75 years old, he was on a 55-degree lake last week barefooting.
Wow.
So the answer is no. We can't beat him at that.
That's the water gene right there.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, McGill family.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate having you all on. And be sure to tune in every month from the Helm with MarineMax. And thank you very much, and happy Father's Day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Happy Father's Day.
Day.